All right, thanks for joining us for this month's episode of Veterans Voices. This month we'll be interviewing Assistant Fire Chief and Navy veteran Joseph Duca, and our veteran's profile will be his uncle, actually, Joseph Duca, who was killed in action in World War II. And we'll hear some words from Mike Hennessy. Welcome back. And this month's veterans interview will be with Joe Duca. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Marvelous.
All right. And so can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were born and raised?
I was born and raised right in Marlborough. I grew up on Beach Street in Marlborough. I still live on Beach Street in Marlborough. About 8 houses up from where I was born and raised, my grandfather had grapes that they made the vino with. And then when he passed on, my father had it. Now, my father sold it to me for a minimal amount. I had to give my two brothers each a third, and I built a house on it. And I'm there now, and I got a garden.
Oh, yeah? Still growing the grapes for the vino?
No more.
No? Okay,
no.
All right. And you served in the Navy. Were you drafted, or did you volunteer?
I volunteered.
Okay.
I joined the National Guard in 1953, December of 1953. And then, of course, we went every Monday night and then 2 weeks in the summer. And I said, I don't want to be in the Army, so I want to go to the Navy because your chance to see the world.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of places I would never got to.
Okay.
And very happy I was on an aircraft carrier.
Okay.
The Antietam.
Okay.
And we were anti-submarine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all propelled, no jets. We had the helicopters then that were not like they are today. And we had the first angle deck where the plane could come in, and if he missed the hooks, he could take off again. And we all got in what we call the fire suit in case the plane broke apart, which many did. Wooden deck. And if the propeller would show it up, we'd have to go out there with wooden pegs, pound them in, sand them down. It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then I was in charge of the SEAL 2 locker.
Okay.
And I devised a plan. Instead of me going around to the whole ship and try to do it, I had them bring them to me. Like, say, the first week was the air department, the second, the engineer, and so forth. And the officers, they could bring alcohol aboard, and they didn't get searched, but we couldn't. So they'd see me someplace. Hey, Duke, you're going to be down the SEAL 2 shop today? Yes, sir. What time? What time you want it? They'd come in, they'd have the ice cube. They'd give me a shot of the SEAL 2, you know. And then the ones that had beer, you give them a shot. They'd go with 5, and I'd keep the 6th one. But it was very interesting. And it was on the hangar deck where they repaired the planes.
Mm-hmm.
And it amazed me, those planes coming in and landing. My God, I watched them for hours sometime.
Yeah.
And then at night, when we're down the Mediterranean, then down to Cuba, the porpoises following the ship.
Yeah.
It was something.
Yeah.
And we're down Gitmo. I better not say this, but they'd have happy hour and screwdrivers, vodka and orange juice.
Mm-hmm.
They were nickel. So you'd go up, but they wasn't like they are here. You go up with $1, you come back with 20 of them. Must be 4 or 5 guys there. And of course, we'd all have a little package on. You go back to the pier, and you could badmouth your ship, but if you did it, you'd push them in the water. But it was very interesting. Then the second ship, the Currituck, I guess we had a captain who didn't like the cold weather because we went down there January 4th and stayed January, February, March, and April. I come home, I was as dark as your shirt. And the only time we went out to sea, Well, we go out when a seaplane would land, it had to be repaired. They'd hoist it aboard the ship. The back of the ship would go like you think we're going to sink. It would level off, come into port, and but the food on the Antietam was excellent.
Yeah.
The food on the Currituck wasn't fit to eat, but it was an experience. I think every kid coming out of high school, unless he's got special needs, should go into service for 6 months or a year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went into service, I'll be honest with you, I had a chip on my shoulder until I got to boot camp. Now I met guys from all over the country. We met this one kid from Panama. One night we hear this ungodly laughing and screaming, 2 o'clock in the morning. We all get up and look out the window. He's out in the snow doing snow angels. Well, his father was in the diplomatic corps, and he was down in Panama. I never saw snow. So to him, it was different, you know.
Yeah.
But and I went in. I think I weighed about 145. I come out of the boot camp. I was 165. I come out of the service. I was 185. But I enjoyed it. If my different rate, I was damage control, and if I was going to make a career of it, it would probably been 18 years at sea because there wasn't much on the bases because we did the carpenter work and stuff like that. So I said, nah, I'm not going to re-enlist.
Yeah.
I got recommended to be re-enlist, but they do that to everybody.
So your rating was damage controlman?
Damage control.
So can you explain a little bit for folks that might not understand what a damage controlman is in the Navy?
Okay, we were the jack of all trades. If the hatch, the door needed an airtight gasket on it, we'd fix it. They'd inspect once a month, and we'd get a list of what had to be repaired. So we would go and we repair that. The hatch, the window, the dog broke. You'd have to go weld it. The flight deck, it got dug up. We have to go fix that. And I was in charge of what they call a repair locker. That if something hit the side of the ship and made a hole, we went in with a mattress and shoring, and they'd pump air in it to make it airtight. But it was like a jack of all trades, basically. And it was interesting because it never got boring.
Yeah.
I was on that ship for over 2 years, and I wasn't everywhere on it.
Oh, yeah.
It was so big.
Yeah.
And I think there was only 1 or 2 guys from Massachusetts on it beside me. I got a list of it at home of everybody that was on it, you know, and I had a picture of it, but it was in a frame, and I should have brought it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah,
that's enough about me.
So you were assigned to the Antietam, and what was the name of the other ship?
The Currituck, USS Currituck.
Okay, and that was a seaplane tender?
Seaplane tender. There was only 2 of them.
Okay.
There was one here and one on the West Coast.
Okay.
And it was named after the Currituck Sound out in Puget, out by Seattle, Washington.
Okay. And then, so what years were you in the Navy?
57. Yeah, I mean, 54 to 57.
Okay. And so obviously the 2 different ships, they were both East Coast ships?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said you were over in the Mediterranean and down in Cuba.
Well, the Mediterranean, we were over there doing the Suez Canal problem.
Okay.
And that's what made me the veteran of foreign war. And they weren't shooting at me, but the planes took off with bombs and that, come back without them. So what they did with them, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to know.
Yeah. And did you have any, ports of call when you were over in the Med?
Oh, we Genoa, Naples, Barcelona. We were in England. I can't think of the name when we went. But the beer was warm then. They didn't get to the cold beer at that then.
Yeah.
It was always warm.
I think they still do that. Yeah, it's a little odd.
In Barcelona, we went to the bullfights.
Oh, yeah?
They were interesting.
Yeah.
The people don't cheer for the matador. They cheer for the bull. But it was like the minor leagues. It wasn't the real what you see on TV, the guy, just,
Yeah.
but it was interesting.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite port of call that you went to?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we went to Algiers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
Okay.
Algeria. When we went, if we went to the Casbah, which you hear a lot about, we could only go there if with 20 or more with Marine armed guards. Yeah, because it was like the slum of Algiers.
Yeah.
I went once, and I said, this ain't for me, because you're looking over your shoulder all the time,
Yeah.
And if you got locked up, you were there when the ship left, and God help it.
Yeah. And was that around the same time that the French were having a lot of problems with the Algerian natives?
I don't know.
No. Yeah. Okay. So when you got out of the Navy, what was your rank? Was
Damage Controlman, 3rd class.
3rd class? Okay.
Yes. And then I was on the call fire department. Then I wanted to be a fireman because my father was a fireman, and I got my wish.
Yeah. So typically in the Navy, the damage controlmen are kind of the firemen of the ship, correct?
Yeah, right.
So,
We were the fire department.
Yeah.
We were the work crew. We were the electricians. We were the plumbers.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we dealt with the asbestos.
Okay.
And I was in that class action asbestos suit because I ended up with lung cancer. But that was 31 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, 21 years ago. And I'm still here.
That's good. Yeah. So the Navy used extensive asbestos. Not only a lot of it was the insulation.
Well, everything. All the pipes were wrapped in.
All the insulation. They used to use it for some of the like heat resistant gloves.
Yeah.
I mean, they used it for a ton of stuff until they realized how bad it is for the human body. So
well, I mean, nobody knew back then.
Nobody, yeah.
And the fuel lines were wrapped in asbestos, the water lines, the gas, everything was wrapped in asbestos for protection.
Yep.
And
it was great insulator, but it wasn't so great for humans.
Well, they didn't know that back then.
Yeah.
Actually, like the people when they smoked, they didn't know how bad that was.
Yeah. Yep.
But hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Live and let live.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
Any memorable fires in Marlborough? I know beforehand we were talking about Main Street and then the bar where Louis Armstrong was playing, or
well, that was a Linehurst.
Yeah.
Well, we had a firebug running around the city, and where the school offices now on corner Freeman and Rice Street, he lit that on fire because the landlord told him he left the light bulb on in the hallway, and he got mad, so he lit it on fire. And then, where else did he go? Oh, the library. He lit the library on fire because they sent him bills on overdue books. So then, and up on the corner of Lincoln and Broad Street, where the Sperry's package store is now, there was a 4-story building. He lit that on fire. So we knew it was him. And of course, we didn't have any portable radios then. So we had a city pickup truck from the DPW parked at the fire station running, and we went and patrolled. So we knew it was him, but we had to catch him. The police said, get him with the bag. This gets interesting now. So he lived down on Hemingway Street, and he's walking down. He stopped at the bar. So, Mike Francolini?
I know the name.
Well, anyway, his family used to own the Oxford. So we had them sitting at the different place you're going to stop. So the chief and I said, let's have some fun with Mike. So he comes in and says, Michael, you was down, I forget the name of the bar. Oh, Lance Colgado owned it. He says, yeah. I said, was you drinking? He said, yeah, but I didn't enjoy it. So this kid was walking down, was it Hemingway Street? Where the Evergreen Cemetery is. And they had a barn there. And this state cop, Bradshaw, his name was, assigned to the fire arson. The crew went in there, and he had the gun. He said, "Don't light that match," and we caught him.
Yeah.
So they deported him because
Yeah.
he was a Dutch.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he needed help.
Yeah.
So
And you were telling me in my office one day that you didn't have the big air packs that you had back in the day. You had the
Oh.
little canister on the front.
we had a canister. You had to have at least 10% oxygen for it to work. And there'd be a tape on the bottom. And if it turned blue, it was no good no more. And if you got oil in it, it'll blow up and blow a hole in your stomach. So the chief we had wasn't a spendthrift. So when we get done, usually you change them and throw them away. Not with him. You put it on there. You put the tape back on. Oh, I tell you. He couldn't say thank you. And he'd chew you out. And if you was in Gillette Stadium, you could be right, but he'd chew you out and you took it.
Yeah.
But he had other ways of saying thank you. And I don't know if I should tell you all this, but anyway, the Rec Lounge, which is now the Bolton Street Tavern,
Okay.
2 o'clock in the morning, where the guy that owned it comes into the police station, said, "My place is on fire." So he drove by 3 fire alarm boxes, He's in there cleaning the fire laters. So we get down there. So me and Herbie Butland, Sean's father,
Yep.
we busted our rear ends putting the fire out. So it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and the chief says, "You two stay here till the fire marshal comes." And the fire marshals then were fire captains assigned to the state police. They weren't state police investigators. And the man's name was Jeremiah McCarthy. And the chief's name was John Brecken. They're both big Irishmen. So we get down the cellar, and there's a beer cooler. And I open it up. I said, "Herbie, come here." So let's have a beer. Well, we come back. And the guys were telling us this after. He said, the chief come down with McCarthy, and he calls the station, "Come down here with the engine and a spare man." He come down there, said, "Get these 2 birds out of my sight. We couldn't tell you our name." But that was his way. That was his way of saying thank you.
Yeah.
He couldn't say the words, but that was his way.
Yeah.
And we figured we're going to catch hell the next time on duty. Never said a word.
Yeah.
Never said a word. If that chief, if he had said to me, "Go to the top of the city hall and jump off head first," I would have done it because I knew we wouldn't get hurt.
Yeah.
That's how much faith we had in him.
Yeah.
He was he was the best fire chief I worked for
Mm-hmm.
when it come to fires. And then Bob McCarthy was the best chief that dealt with the people.
Mm-hmm.
And there was chiefs in between.
Yeah.
Now, how many people were in Marlborough when you took over?
I mean, what?
How many people were in Marlborough when you got in?
15,000.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it's.
Oh, you knew everybody.
Yeah.
In the DPW where your dad worked, they probably had 100 workers there, with all the divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't think they got 20.
It's slowed down,
You got
I
the
think.
forestry, the parks, and all that.
Yeah.
But 495, that brought the industry in, and it's got the tax rate down, thank God.
Yeah.
And we used to do the police. We were all made constables because there was only 17 of us and 17
Goodness.
policemen.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
the police would come in, "Hey, come answer the phone." They'd have a call. So one of us would go in there and answer the phone. And we did road jobs. We got the lousy ones. And, of course, we'd go out with the fire truck and we'd wet the road down because of the dust. But that's when Johnny Packer said, "So you got hit by the uke,"
Yeah.
And the uke's in the junkyard. Johnny Packer still was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe this building was it for Marlborough.
Yeah.
Was like the all-in-one.
The police, the courthouse, and the fire.
And so was like, since I've been a kid, I know there's the one down Route 20, closer to Sudbury, and there's the Pleasant Street Fire
Right.
Station,
Right.
and there's the one right down 85. But was this fire station and Pleasant Street the only ones?
The only ones when I came to work,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And way back when they were building 495, Canvas owned Rice's Orchard, where all the industry is now.
Yep.
What do they call it? that center with all
It's like the industrial park.
The
like, kind of
campus?
Apex.
Apex.
The Apex
Okay.
Center. So where the 99 is, they said, if you let us put a gas station on the other corner, we'll give you 2 acres there for a fire station. That was 1964. You know, ain't no fire station there.
Yeah.
Then the Roadhouse was there, was a restaurant. The bowling alley is on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I worked the fire that when that burned. In Rice's Orchard, they had the apples, the fruit stand there. I worked that fire.
So when you came out of the Navy, did you go right into being a firefighter?
No, I had to wait. I was on the call force because there was no opening,
Mhm.
you know, and I took the exam and I waited. But we had a whistle system,
Mhm.
and they blow the whistle, say they play 1, say a pause, 4, a pause, 5. So that's box 145. And you look at the chart and it would say the corner of Beach and South Street or whatever.
Mhm.
And that's where you went. And there was 5 pieces of apparatus. So there was about 100 call men, and 20 men were assigned to the ladder, 20 men to engine 1, 20 men to engine 2. And you went to that vehicle and you did what that captain told you to do. And then eventually they cut down on the callmen as the permanent men got hired. And then eventually you only had 1 callman.
Mhm.
And he'd do anything you want. Boy, if they had 10 guys like him, you could send everybody else home.
Yeah.
Max Wills, I don't know if you know him or not, but he was excellent, excellent.
Which were you assigned to? What truck were you assigned to?
The ladder truck. I loved it. In fact, I was kind of honored. It seemed like every time they'd hire new people, I had the opportunity to take them out and teach them the ladder truck. That's before we had power steering or power brakes. So it's, you know, standard shift, standard brakes. Steering wheel was about that big.
Yeah.
The open cab.
Open cab. I loved it because you could see the wires, you know. And I can remember when the Oxford burnt in the corner of Lincoln and Mechanic Street. It was a Thanksgiving morning, one cold morning, and I set up where I could do both of them, and I could see the wires. The trucks now, they're better, you know, they're more advanced technology, but you still got wires that you got to contend with,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It was fun.
Yeah. And, you know, after you got out of the Navy and you obviously were pretty busy with the fire department, it sounds like, but did you get involved with any of the veterans organizations in town?
I was 23 years a trustee down the Italian American Vets.
Mhm.
And then that's before they put the addition on. And then the Veteran of Foreign Wars in Hudson, I'm a life member there. I was commander twice. The AMVETS, I was at the AMVETS in Marlborough, and then I transferred to Hudson, and I'm just a member. I'm not a life member.
Mhm.
And we have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Joe. And with that, we'll be taking a short break.
I said I'd never join.
Then I wouldn't get to work on one of these.
Never knew how strong I was.
I figured I'd never get out of my hometown.
Or be the one who stops an attack.
Joining the Navy sounds crazy. Saying never actually is.
All right, welcome back. And this month's Veterans Profile is Joseph Francis Duca. Joseph was a first lieutenant in the 83rd Reconnaissance Troop of the 83rd Infantry Division. He was born the 17th of December 1918 in Marlborough, Massachusetts, one of 8 children born to Salvatore and Luis Duca, and the family lived at 133 Beach Street here in Marlborough. Joseph graduated from Marlborough High School with the class of 1936, where he was a star on the football team. His prowess on the gridiron allowed him to be picked up by St. Anselm's University, where he continued to play football and graduated with the class of 1941. Joseph enlisted in the Army Air Corps in March of 1942 and received his basic training at Maxwell Field, Alabama, before being sent to Camden, South Carolina, where he served as a recruiter. Joseph transferred to the Cavalry Corps of the Army and completed Officer Candidate School at Fort Knox, Kentucky, the 3rd of April, 1943, where he was commissioned a second lieutenant. He was ultimately assigned to the 83rd Reconnaissance Troop of the 83rd Infantry Division. This small unit was assigned the task of providing reconnaissance to the infantry units of the division and were very mobile, driving M8 Greyhound reconnaissance vehicles. Joseph, known as Duke, with his new command, departed the United States from New York the 6th of April, 1944, aboard the U.S. Army transport George Washington. The unit arrived in Liverpool, England, the 19th of April, and shuffled between various bases in England before departing for France aboard landing ship tanks the 19th of June, 1944, where they arrived at Utah Beach. The 83rd Recon Troop served as the eyes and ears for various infantry units and fought in the battles near Currituck, as well as during the Battle of the Bulge. Duke and his men served in various locations in France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany through the end of 1944. In 1945, the troop made the crossing into Germany, and on the 2nd of March, while leading the 3rd Platoon on a reconnaissance patrol, Joseph came under fire from a German tank near Kappeln, Germany. While directing his men to safety and drawing the fire of the tank, Joseph was killed in action. For his bravery, he was awarded a Silver Star. He's buried at the Netherlands American Cemetery in Margraten, Netherlands, at Plot D, Row 9, Grave 12. Duca Drive in Marlborough is named in his honor. And this month, we remember First Lieutenant Joseph Francis Duca. So Joseph Francis Duca, First Lieutenant, was awarded the Silver Star, and we'll be reading his citation, for distinguishing himself by gallantry in action in connection with military operations against an enemy of the United States on 2 March 1945 at Kappeln, Germany. During the drive toward the Rhine River, Lieutenant Duca was leading his combat platoon in Kappeln, Germany, to relieve elements of another unit when they came under heavy fire during a German counterattack on that town. Although unable to proceed in vehicles, he led a dismounted patrol forward to learn the situation and give assistance. As he rounded a curve in a deeply defiled road, an enemy tank approached the corner from the opposite direction. Lieutenant Duca, with utter disregard for his personal safety, signaled his men the danger before he was pinned down by enemy fire. Unable to reach him with machine gun fire, the first tank fired point blank and killed him with high-velocity fire, which penetrated his inadequate cover. The heroic devotion to duty, superior leadership, and gallantry displayed by Lieutenant Duca reflect great credit upon himself and the finest traditions of the Armed Forces of the United States. And Joe, is there anything you'd like to share about your family and your connection to Joe being your uncle?
I didn't know him, but I knew every one of his brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all in the military, every one of them. And then, of course, my Aunt Louisa. And I didn't know my uncle Salvatore, because we lived at 151 B Street, and that's 131.
Yeah.
So we were just down 2 houses down.
Yeah.
But I didn't remember him, but I remembered all his brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they're all gone.
Yeah.
And there was 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I wish I didn't know them, but I know. But when I heard their brother used to talk about their brother,
Yeah.
and hey, unfortunately it happened. But they're the ones that should be here honoring, not me.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that made this possible,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And hopefully people will look at these monuments, like the one at Piave Square, had all the Italian veterans. The Doughboy Monument has the veterans on them.
Mm-hmm.
And if people might not know that person, but they might know a relative of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like in Hudson, they got right by the library. And like I say, the price of freedom is those ones that gave the supreme sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones that deserve all the credit. We survived. They didn't, unfortunately. But they made it possible. They made it better for us. And hopefully we made it better for future generations. Let's see what happens.
Well, thank you, Joe. I'm glad that we were able to recognize and honor your uncle tonight. And I want to thank you for your service in the Navy and also your service as the Assistant Fire Chief here for the community of Marlborough. Thank you. And here we have Mike Hennessy, Veteran Services Officer, with some updates from the Veteran Service Corner.
Well, I really don't have much, Chief. You did plenty. It's always great talking to you. I got to know Chief through coming to my pizza, the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, and then also Stitch This does my shirts, and I realized Chief goes there and talks to Sean and Laura. Both of their parents were Marlborough firefighters as well. I feel like I'm in Milford. Everybody knows each other, and everybody's related. I really don't have much to contribute as far as veteran services go. Just it being September, a Day to Benefits Veterans is coming up. It's I believe it's September 15th. It's always a great time. The crew that puts it together, the McCarthys, John Manning, Carol Callahan, they all do a great service to the veteran services. Every veteran services, even my office, receives donations from this, whether it be gift cards for gas, gift cards for food. There are veterans and families in need, and they really do a lot of good. And I just wanted to say that's coming up. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, I believe you can get them from Bob Case at the Prospector. I believe John at the ITAM has them. You can speak to the McCarthys. They have tickets as well. And Chief, you've got something to add?
Yes. We got Mike here. He's kind of an unsung hero. I went to him for a couple of issues I had through the VA, and he went out of his way to help me. I can't thank him enough.
All right, don't worry. I don't need to be thanked. It's all good. No problem, Chief. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Mike. And that concludes this month's episode of Veterans Voices. Thank you for joining us.